My name is Jack. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. I produce daily content based around video editing, videography, how to make money making videos. Subscribe if that sounds interesting to you. Why are these wires, these iPhone chargers here? Oh, the charger, I do need to put it on charge. 2 seconds, all right? 2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. May as well. When in doubt, charge your way out. Phenomenal quote. Put it on a t-shirt and let's get it cracking. Hell yeah. So today's gonna be tips for video editors getting into videography. I am a video editor getting into videography. Spoiler alert, I've been getting into videography for the past 3 years. I mean, I would say I properly started. I've been shooting videos since I was 10 years old, by the way. So everything I do now is a progression of starting the interest at 10 years old, right? But I've been professionally shooting videos since I was 16 or 17 years old, right? Where the first sort of main thing was I started a production company, aka like a media channel with my friends right at the time. And boom, we started it up called TQ9 TV. And what we would do is pop up on different rappers in our area and shoot them a freestyle / music video, right? So a lot of them were one-take videos, a lot of them were music videos as well. And we would just travel all around. You know, ideally people would come to us since we were doing it for free. But a lot of the time we would travel as well at 17 and we would shoot music videos for people. And I need to stop selecting my podcast window. The past 3 videos, every time I've put my monitor on and accidentally pressed play on the Gary Vee podcast I'm listening to. But basically, I started properly freelancing then at 17, started shooting music videos for rappers. Then that progressed into shooting club videos, after movies, and promo videos. That then progressed into, or at the similar time actually, started remote freelancing for companies on the internet. And also the kind of just natural passion of making videos led me to make videos for anybody that would come my way, right? I've shot videos in gyms, I've shot videos for car dealerships, I've shot videos for pop-up marshmallow stalls, where one time at Christmas they had this pop-up stall up in Bristol and they was getting the marshmallows and hollowing them out and putting alcohol in them. Basically silly stuff and professional stuff, all sorts of stuff I've shot videos for, right? And I'm still getting started in videography in my opinion. Compared to someone who's starting today, yes, understandable, but I have, I'm always trying to learn at the end of the day, and I understand that I am really a much better video editor than I am a videographer, and I'm just sort of getting into this stuff. I'm sort of experimenting, and that's how long of a journey this really is, guys. I'm telling you how I've been shooting videos for the past 3 years consistently, 20 now, started properly professionally at 17 years old, and I'm telling you now that I'm just getting started. I really am. I'm learning stuff every day. I'm figuring this out. I've just started messing with gimbals. For a while I couldn't afford it. Now I'm at the point where I'm able to even be sent it for free by the company via other hustles like the YouTube channel that I got going on, right? And basically more or less, I've been getting started for a little while, right? But today's video, we talked for like 3 minutes and I haven't even really gotten into this properly, is tips for video editors that are trying to get into videography, and actually some of the bonuses that you're going to face here, right? The biggest bonus, just to spew a couple things out, because you guys know I don't really follow a very structured approach on my channel. I sort of just spitball it. I have my topic written down. I have a few basic points that if I get lost, I can look at and reference, but really I'm looking at the camera the whole time. I'm making this shit up as I go along, right? And just sort of remembering what's going down, etc., and trying to find the value in, detailing my experiences in a way where you could siphon value. That's sort of my approach here. I speak about my experiences and then bullet point relevant things that the editing version of me thinks are important to you to learn, etc. But the biggest thing you're going to notice as a video editor going to videography first is that you actually are going to make much more efficient edits than someone who's been a videographer first, because your whole thought process is thinking about the edit. I'm half editing the video mentally when I'm shooting the footage, and you know 100% if something's going in there, if something's not going on there. Maybe this is where the mindset of shooting to edit comes in, so you're like, okay, cool, let me end this going past an object across the screen so I can mask that and bring my next clip on using that object, etc. You start sort of getting into a pattern where you're being, in my opinion, and I don't think it's actually really debatable, it's just 100% more effective and more efficient by shooting to edit. Shooting to edit is a tactic a lot of people would use, and this is something that you kind of intuitively do when you're a video editor starting videography, right? And this is almost, in my opinion, one of the most powerful kind of things that you take with you into this new space, which the skills are transferable, right? If you're video editing all day long, then you pick up a camera and, it is a new format, but at the end of the day, right, actually no, there's no correlation really. You could be an amazing editor and you just flat out suck at videography. You could be an amazing cameraman, videographer, and you just flat out suck at editing. But there are similarities between the two, right? they obviously have common themes, etc. And I think the skills can definitely be transferable. Right now, exactly. The number one thing that you keep in mind, well, that kind of just naturally happens to you, is the shooting to edit type of thing, right? It's just it's kind of a natural tactic. Tips for video editors getting into videography. It's not even really a tip. That's sort of just an observation I'm realizing now. It's not actually a tip, it's an observation, right? Now, other things that can actually help you when you're actually sort of a video editor getting into videography is, I guess, a better story, right? So a lot of times a videographer might have all these ideas of what they want to happen, right? Oh, this happens, this happens, this happens, but doing things in a consecutive, what would you call that, chronological order and stuff like that. And you don't always have to do, because obviously you might be in a better location for a scene that's going to come later, etc. But I think editors, and this kind of goes back to the shooting to edit thing, but keeping a relatively consistent narrative throughout what you're doing and actually sort of piecing stuff together. As an editor, you know what happens when you don't have the piece of footage that you need to actually tie things together. Now, this happens with client projects very often. It's a nightmare if a client records all the footage themselves when really they're not a videographer, they're a businessman, because they don't have this in mind, right? They're not keeping a consecutive story where, you know, if the next scene they're in a house, right? Let's have something of the door opening or something that brings us in there, right? You know what I mean? Or if the next shot they're you know, on a different island or something like that. I'm thinking about edits that I've done, right? Maybe let's show the boat going to that next island or something like that, right? Basically story, you know what I mean? And this actually, as I say it, I'm thinking it kind of adds on to my previous point of keeping the edit in mind, but keeping that strong narrative, keeping that strong story. I feel as though this is something video editors intuitively have, because you're painting pictures, you're painting stories the whole time. Different edits for different stuff at the end of the day. If you're just a straight montage maker, maybe you don't need as much of a narrative, but ideally, you're gonna wanna be painting a pretty consistent narrative. Where's my water bottle at? It's up there somehow? How? How did it fucking teleport? 2 seconds. How did you do that to me? Was I looking out the window? Yo, I think I might have been looking out the window, guys. What's wrong with me? Let me, what's wrong with me for looking out the window? Why is my water bottle so far away? Who knows? 2 seconds. So as I actually break this down in my head, I'm realizing that this is actually tips for video editors getting into videography. Might not even be a correct thing for me to say. This is more observations that make video editors better minded to shoot videos. But also, what's some downsides? As a video editor, maybe you don't actually have as much, you know what I mean, maybe confidence or something like that to be in the field, right? That's obviously a thing at play. It's not gonna hit everybody, but I'm sure it's gonna hit somebody. This could be I'm just trying to balance this out. And I'm literally thinking of everything I'm talking about right now completely off the top of my head. You know what I mean? So maybe there's a confidence issue in some things. I know personally, I've been historically, if I compare myself to other people, a relatively confident dude my entire life. But I'm lying if I said it wasn't a thing in my mind to actually get over that little hurdle of whether it be being on showcase, whether it be being on stage, for example. I've shot a lot of nightclubs. You're then on stage in front of potentially thousands of people. You know, you're not gonna fucking mess up, but what if I fall? You know, all type of funny things will make their way into your head, and that's obviously a part of it as well, right? To be totally disregarded, I promise you that. You want to obviously be aware, right? But in my experience, right, and again, this is just my experience, but that's what I said. I really just talk about my experiences here, and you take the relevant things that are for you and you disregard the things that aren't. Totally disregard some of what I say and take on some of what I say. I'm 20 years old, and I've just said I'm figuring this out every day. But 100%, if you throw yourself at something, a lot of the time it goes far better than the fucking version of you currently could ever even imagine, right? Like literally, it's been a pattern I've noticed. As I got older, I got more naturally confident. Therefore, I've been happy just to not totally understand what the outcome is going to be, but throw myself at the situation anyways. And literally 9 times out of 10, in fact, 10 times out of 10, when you throw yourself at a situation, it just works out. It literally just works out. I've thrown myself at pretty much everything. That's almost my biggest tactic for learning, and is just throwing yourself at projects and, you know, naturally picking up stuff that you didn't even realize. And you want stuff to go wrong as well. So when stuff inevitably, naturally goes wrong, phenomenal. That's a learning lesson right there. You now figure out a way around that. And boom, that's the name of the game right there. Trial and error, isn't it? It's like, you know, you're trying stuff out, you're figuring it out, you're figuring out what works, you're pivoting from the stuff that doesn't work, etc. And that would be my goal to you guys as a video editor trying to get into videography. Throw yourself at every opportunity that presents itself to you, regardless of the price. Also, you now have these two things that you might not have been aware of, but I'm aware of after being a video editor, transition into videography, and that's the fact that you are not only crafting a strong narrative while you're doing the whole thing, right, by actually knowing what scenes need to be next, etc., what you didn't get, which you would like to see in the edit, which would tell a better story, and also the fact that you're just thinking about the edit. You might shoot something which a videographer, would figure out later would be a good transition or something. As a video editor, you're very aware of all the effects, etc. Effects is a bad word because there's, as efficient editors, you're not using loads of pre-made effects, but fucking effect is the word, right? As an editor, you're aware of the effects that could actually be at your disposal in an environment. There's scenes that pop up in my mind. I was shooting in a forest in Scotland. Obviously, using those trees was crucial. The whole time I'm thinking, this is great. Everything's the same color pattern. I'm going to go past this tree. I'm going to bring my next clip into the scene based on that tree. It's going to look exactly like they're next to each other. As an editor, you're spotting these things that, are going to improve your edits naturally. It's literally just what happens 10 out of 10 times. And also, remember, if you're, a little bit on the more nervous side for stuff, throw yourself in the situation 10 out of 10 times. It's going to work out way better than the naive version of you could have ever imagined. Trust me, I speak from experience. I do not speak from anything but experience. Thank you guys for tuning in. I've been Jack. At ItsJackCole on all social media. Follow me, hit me up. That's where I'm the most active in terms of reaching out to you guys. I respond to almost every comment here, right? But I respond to literally every DM that I get over on Instagram. So probably versus a literally, you're going to definitely get a response on Instagram. It's more tried and true. But you'll get a response here as well, as long as it's not the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life, in which case I'll probably respond, this is a silly comment. But thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Have a nice day, and see you in the next video. Later.
Invade King Beat.